Of course, the Federal Executive Council has approved the Federal Roads and Bridges tolling policy. The recommended tolling fees in the approved policy and regulation states that cars will pay 200 naira, SUVs 300 naira, private buses 300 naira, commercial buses 150 naira, luxury buses and trucks 500 naira. Only dual carriageways owned by the federal government will be eligible for tolling by the federal government, and toll revenues will be used to maintain the roads and also to repay investors who have invested in building or completing a road under the Highway Development Management Initiative. Well, joining me to discuss this is public affairs analyst Dr. Dokun Adedeji. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, after 18 years, the federal government is returning tolls back on the dual carriage roads. And I wonder what came to mind when you heard this very interesting information, because this has generated divergent views.
To be honest with you, I think it's good. I think it's good in the sense that you can see from the explanation made that this is to use to repair, maintain the roads, and also pay by investors that put money in it. I think the normal thing for us many times is to think about the negatives. Times are so hard, there's no money, and yet they are tolling the gate. But you can imagine the same people complain that we're borrowing too much, and we're borrowing for infrastructure. If we're borrowing, and we know what we're borrowing for, and something that will be on a long-term basis, I think the explanation is good. The government just needs to show diligence in doing what they promised to do. That is, as soon as they get the money, then they maintain the roads, and then we shouldn't worry about another 2 years it's broken down, and then we need to spend another huge money to work on it.
Government's showing of diligence seems to be the major challenge, because you are smiling and you have said, I think, and I'm wondering, there seems to be some level of concern you have with regards to this. Is it the aspect of government's diligence, that government delivering on its promise to ensure that the monies received out of the tolling will be used as it has promised?
It's a multiple set of issues here. You know, many times when we say government, I smile, because all of us are involved in governance one way or the other. If we do the normal things that we should do as our own duty, then we should then put pressure on government to do its own duty. The only challenge that I do have is the management of the funds, who collect the tolls, and how is it managed. And as long as we can keep that in perspective and then make sure that it's so used, then Nigerians, I don't think we mind. There's no country in the world where people don't feel pressured by the number of monies or taxes or levies that you have to pay for to maintain those things. But the important thing is people then feel relaxed that, oh, we see it being done and being used that way. I just hope, I want to believe with what one had seen, and with the quality of the work being done, particularly if you see Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, then you know that
Lagos is just one.
That is just one. I mean, there are many roads that have been done, federal roads across the country that we read about. The important thing is the management of the funds collected, and then the money to be duly used for the purposes. It also speaks to us as a people. Some people will be put in charge of these things. How do they manage it? They are Nigerians, they are not aliens.
Checking corruption.
Checking corruption. You see, the issue when people talk about corruption, people think it's just receiving money from maybe on the road. And no, it isn't. It's about our attitude to the things that we do. It's about our response, finding opportunity every time when we're put in places of influence. When we should think about how to make things better, we just want to corner. And the thing is just today. How do I get rich today? There's something I always say to people. A man that plants a tree should not expect to see it under the shade of the tree.
Right. And
that is somebody who has a long-term view. If we do things right today, then we are giving benefits to our children, but we can't eat the benefits of tomorrow, depriving our children of tomorrow because we want to have something today. I think it speaks to all of us. I want to believe that the government has good intentions. I want to believe so. And then the important thing is, who are the people? Will it be private partnership? Will it be a company? Will it be government agency or something? Those are the issues that we need to begin to consider.
But because some are saying that the aspect of people seeing what government is doing with their monies, paying taxes, because that invariably will encourage people to always want to
do something. Yes.
But so far as we have come, a lot of persons are saying, I have been paying taxes, but I am not seeing the result. Why should they come again to bring this up?
No, you know, the issue, we pay taxes, I don't see what gets done. I don't think that is totally correct. In the sense that, let me give you an example of Lagos that we live in. I think the government had look at Lagos Road, and then they did partition so that people can't cross. All those things done, even to beautify the roads, and then the cover, they've been broken. Some of them have been broken down by maybe Okada wanting to maneuver. Even you see taking away, the cars can turn in a place that they shouldn't turn. And all the barricades done so that people don't cross the road have been removed. If those things get removed, and these are things done with the money that you said you paid, when it gets done again, you say, oh, they are pressurizing us to pay more. It has to be replaced. The important thing is all of us must do what is our contribution. It doesn't have to be monetary most times or financial, but what is our duty of commitment to our country? When those things are done with our money, the overhead bridges are done for people to cross. People don't cross.
Right.
Then they give reasons that, oh, it's because they get robbed. True, it can happen. But then why should we not raise issues and that those things are curbed? Or people go there to sell stuff, or people, all kinds of things, or beggars, or those are issues with us. It is not the government that is sitting there. It is not the government that goes in the night to remove all those barricades. So when we pay and those things are done and we destroy them, what happens?
We shouldn't blame the government. So the people now need to work on their mindset and attitude towards government's effort at ensuring development across the country. But now let's look at the reason why it was taking off in the first place, talking about the tolls. At the time, former President Olusegun Obasanjo examined the monies that were coming in. About 63 million, I think, was what it was at some point when he decided it's not worth the effort, as it was being said. Now, the question on the minds of some Nigerians is the fact that at toll gates, as it is now with the economy, are they really money spinners that can generate that kind of monies that will use for the maintenance, payment of investors, and all of it, as the government has said?
You know, the thing is the allotment that is done. If, for instance, 10,000 is collected, maybe you decide 2,000 goes to the investors, this goes to the maintenance of the road. It doesn't mean that the money made from tolling will completely cover those engagements. No, it doesn't mean so. But the important thing is it reduces our commitment to external investors or to people that we took money from, and also helps us to do a bit of maintenance. So it's a bit of apportioning that will happen. To say that, whoa, the money is not well worth it, I don't think that's a proper way to understand this. One of the things that I think the government is trying to do, if you look at the diversification of transportation system, is the fact the train system is beginning to work. And then they will create more, and then the coastal cities that take. If those trains are there, why should I travel by road? Because it's a lot safer for me to travel by rail than to travel by road. But if the roads are all good, and then the time spent on the road is limited, and then you pay your I don't see anything wrong with the fact that the government will collect money and it may not be enough to offset either the cost of the road or the maintenance and also payment to investors. The important thing is how do we manage it? And so that tomorrow we'll not say, oh, we were to pay investors 50 million, we've only paid 25 million. Then somebody is going to be asking what happened to the money. How much have you set aside for maintenance? How much have you set aside for returning money to investors? Those are the dynamics that we must begin to look out for, and then we must press for. And then over the years, somebody must give account as to those things.
Somebody must give account. That has been a challenge in this country.
But you know, I keep saying this thing. Yeah, it can be a challenge. But who are the people there? They're Nigerians. They're not aliens. If a Nigerian does not feel committed enough to render service as he should be without any pecuniary consideration, then what's the basis of condemning others in other spheres? We as a people, this is what I keep saying about our Nigerian mindset, about people understanding the concept of nationhood and your contribution to nation and what you want to be remembered for as what you have done. If we don't begin to look at our nation as we belonging to this country and wanting to do something, we'll just be pestering away all the money and then we'll be complaining and complaining. We've been complaining for years.
Absolutely.
Nothing has changed. But the thing that has not changed is us as a people. People say, why do I throw the responsibility to people? But who should I throw the responsibility to? If we are, look, the thing that is important is your area of influence. Do the best you can. And then it multiplies, and then becomes the national thing. But if you look at what is happening, everybody just commits to himself. And then nobody cares about the generality. Of course, the people will suffer for it.
Now, there are also those who think that the other implication for the return of the tolls is the fact that it's going to ensure that the hardship that Nigerians are facing now gets worse. In terms of, we see transporters, especially those who transport food, say that because some persons, in terms of policemen, collect monies from them, and now we are asking them to pay for toll. So they include these monies to the price of food items. And so the repercussion still gets back to the people. The microscopic view of these things are why we punish ourselves. The driver says, oh, because I'm bringing stuff and then I add more to it. And then so what I'm selling, I add more to it. The same person who goes to buy here forgets that he has a landlord. And then also forgets that he goes to a petrol station. And then the multiplicity of punishment then extends to everyone. Until we begin to understand that we need to work together. You see, the thing that happens to us in this country, we're too unicameral. We're only looking at one tunnel vision. Yes. Just
like this, without knowing the ramification of the decisions we take and all the actions we take, that in after effect, it comes back to each and every one of us. If you increase transport fares, if the woman sells, and then she also increased food, and then the landlord also increased, and then you find out that we all bear the brunt of the same thing. When we should be looking at how do we curtail these things? If policemen stay on the road to collect money, what have we done about it? Every time a new IG comes, he says, oh, I suspend on the road, nobody should stay on the road. We still see them.
Absolutely.
So what exactly is happening? Then there seems to be, nobody really cares about the IG gives a rule an order and it's flouted like this. And so what do? And then they claim it's security. If it's security, why do they stop you on the road? And they don't even check anything. They just collect money. I think we all just need to sit down and begin to interrogate.
And speaking about security, which a question comes to mind, are there security implications to this? Because at the time when we had the tools, we knew a lot of persons, use that as a stopgap measure. Perhaps stay, if the journeys are too far, they can't get to wherever it is they are going, they stay over at these tolling plazas to perhaps overnight, move on the following day and all of it. But now that the country is being faced with a myriad of security challenges, do you see any issues around that aspect?
To be honest, it is not unlikely. But again, that's what I said the last time about when you do things. Let me tell you something. Let's say when the Minister of say Transportation takes a decision, is he taking a decision in a silo mentality without considering the impact on other sectors of national economy? If we do that, then we run into this kind of problem that you just stated. Because I do hope that as the Minister for Housing and Works has taken this, he's taking cognizance of the security implications. And then he's saying, okay, what then do we do? If we don't do that, then we're only jumping from one problem to another. And then some people may sit down, hoodlums may sit down and say, this is a good place to just go catch people unawares and do the things they want. So we must always, in taking decisions, look at the general, not, oh, my ministry is working so hard, this is the decision we're taking. What are the implications for other people? I agree with you that there could be security implications to this decision, because if, for instance, you get to the toll and it doesn't move, and then there's a pile up, and then also because where you're traveling to is, and then you need to sleep, what happens? Because people do that at the various toll stations at that time when it was in Lagos here. So those are the considerations that we must make when we take decisions like that.
Anyway, aside of that, any final word on this matter?
I think it's okay. I mean, people should look at, oh, this elite, it's not that. But if those reasons given, which are genuine, are thoroughly followed, and we manage it properly, it will be a good thing. We will, in so much debt, we have to reduce it. We have to maintain the roads. Or else in another 5 years, we'll be spending so much money going back to investors to do it. So I think we should just use the opportunity of this to do the things we promised that we'll do with the money.
Absolutely. A fine place to leave the conversation. Public Affairs Analyst, Dr. Dokun Adedeji. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.